The Lifestyle Show, presented by
Giles Brown.
And The Walls Sang. Spanning 3 centuries, this vivid narrative explores the rise of Birmingham's Jewish community through the lens of its magnificent Grade 2 listed Singers Hill Synagogue. It is the latest book from the author Olga Swan. I'm delighted to say that Olga joins me live on the line now. Olga, good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. Lovely to speak to you.
Lovely to have you with us as well. Explain, because I was doing a bit of background research, because I do background research now and again, and occasionally we get writers who've got 1 or 2 books published, and then I clicked in on your history, and there was 9, 10, 11. How many books have you written so far?
I've written 14, but I have to say, the older I get, and I have to say I am kind of old now, it becomes easier. It becomes easier to write. But when other authors ask me what should they write about, my answer is always the same. Write about what you know. So I find that with myself, the older I get, the more I know, so I can put that into my book.
And I'm judging from the rather superb, just a hint of an accent there, that you're from, because I'm from Stoke-on-Trent. You wouldn't think so, but there you go. And you sound like you're from Bromwell, Wolverhampton.
It's kind of close.
Yeah,
it's kind of close, but it is Birmingham, because Birmingham is what I know. It's where I was born, and it's where I've lived for all these decades. Well, with a little break, I did live in France for a while, but close to you, I guess. But we came back because of Brexit, of course.
Right, okay. It's the thing we don't talk about over here, but there you go.
No, but otherwise, it's all about Birmingham because it's what I know. It's and I think it's quite a rare book because usually, you read about Jewish people that were in the war. All the books are nearly always set in the wartime. My book is very different. I wanted to write about ordinary Jewish people, but living in the diaspora. So not just the diaspora, but a small community in the middle of England. I wanted to show everybody that Jewish people are just ordinary, normal, just like everybody else. I wanted to paint a picture of what life has been like over 300 years for Jewish people coming into this area.
Because this is the thing. Because I mean, unfortunately, tragically, we tend to look at the Jewish population as almost sort of tainted by something, as if ordinary people have an idea about the geopolitics that's going to go on, and we don't think, and we only think of the Jewish populations in terms of, I don't know, I mean, you were looking at sort of the 20s and the 30s and then the war and maybe the windmill children or something like that, the Kinderschutz.
I wanted to show that we're just ordinary people, but particularly we've been burdened. We've been burdened by everybody's opinion and feelings, and most of it really propaganda and what's been has gone through the centuries, which has been wrong. So I wanted to correct that. But not in a war setting, just in an ordinary everyday setting. So what I did was I went back with my research right back to 1700s when it was first recorded, when Jewish people came into this area in this country, in England. Yeah. And what happened before then, they were kind of pretty nomadic, because wherever they wanted to settle, they were told by the authorities, no, you can't settle here and you can't trade here because you're Jewish. It's however unfair that was. That's what they were told. So therefore, they kept moving on and moving on. And then one day, mid-1700s, there was a rumour. Someone came over on a horse or something and said, there's a town nearby called Birmingham where not only will they allow you to settle, but they'll allow you to trade, which was wonderful. So they all came to Birmingham in the mid-1700s. And eventually, they settled in what we call these back-to-back houses. I don't know if you've heard of those. They're quite famous. They do a tourist thing now in Birmingham, of the few that are remaining. But anyway, in these back-to-back houses was perfect for the Jewish newcomers, because the father would trade on the ground floor, and there were 2 floors above, and the family could be safely above. So he'd be trading there. But of course, in the early days, 1700s, what the man would do, and it was always the man, of course, he'd make himself a wooden cart, and he'd put goods in there. Maybe he'd made stuff himself, and he'd trundle this off to the bull ring. Have you heard of the bull ring?
We are all very familiar with the bull ring, but
pretty famous.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
Obviously, back in the 1700s, it wasn't the bull ring that we know today. But yes.
Well, it's amazing, because I was surprised myself when I researched it. Do you know how old that is? It started in 1122. So the bull ring has been in Birmingham since the 12th century. It's amazing. But anyway, it was there for these early Jewish traders to trade there. But eventually, right, they're sitting in their nice back-to-back houses, and they start to diversify their trades. So eventually, by Victorian times, there are jewellers, boot makers, belt makers, cap makers, and eventually, they liked the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. There were people like Oscar Deutsch. You probably haven't heard of him, but he started the Odeon cinema.
Yes. No, and of course.
Yeah, and OD was his initials, and the Eon is Greek for life, I think. So that's the Odeon cinema.
Mind officially blown. Mind officially blown, Olga.
And I love the Odeon cinema in Birmingham. But there's also there were other people like Sol Levy. He started cinema, and Joseph Cohen started the Cinephone, and there was also the Scala, and so there were people in the cinema industry. So these are the kind of trades that these Jewish people who'd come from nomad times to Birmingham, and they were allowed to trade. So therefore, the sky was the limit. They could diversify as much as they wanted.
They were allowed to trade. But were they still? Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to use well, you can't say, because ghetto's got the wrong. We overlook, that gets horrible connotations. But were they? Yes. Were they sort of? Did they prefer? Was it made difficult for them to move out of a certain area of Birmingham, or were they allowed to as it became more prosperous, move out? And
they were allowed to trade and to become more prosperous, and then to move to the suburbs, the posher areas, if you like Solihull. I'm not in Solihull, but I'm in Edgbaston, which is near the cricket ground. So it's. But there again, I'm not a trader. I just write.
So tell me about because you've based this around the anchor to this book is the because it's called All the Walls and the Walls Sang. So this is Singers Hill Synagogue. Tell me a little bit about this building and what it meant for the community. So
this Singers Hill Synagogue is the most glorious thing. I wish I could show you. It's got gorgeous painted, coloured windows inside with pillars, and the rabbi brings groups from all around to come and view this synagogue because it's one of the oldest. It was built in 1856, and I love it. I go most Saturdays, and I just sit there in awe when I look at the windows. And there was a guy called, I've mentioned him before, Joseph Cohen, who actually built these windows. He thought it would be a nice thing to do, and he allowed the members to dedicate the window to raise some funds so that he could start a pension fund for the staff at the synagogue. So that was good. But the windows are still there, and there are other people who I remember so well, like Jack Cotton. He started in the 60s when I was teenage, and this is giving my age away, I guess. He started this youth, he started this youth club, and that's where I met my husband, and it was wonderful because I can remember people like Carl Wayne and the Vikings coming to this youth club, and it was a fantastic place. Well, that was started by Jack Cohen, who was a member of the Singers Hill Synagogue. So this building has acted like a catalytic eye, if you like, on all these people over the years. It's been stood there. You can't move a building, and it's kind of been watching the lives of all the people over the centuries since it was built, and seeing all the way it's changed over the years. Let me give you an example. When I was a child and I first went to this synagogue, I was a bit in awe because it was full of these men in top hats, and I was a bit frightened, really. And then all of a sudden, they brought this new young rabbi over. It hadn't happened before. All the rabbis used to be at least middle-aged and but this guy and his wife, who was from LA, they came over and they completely revolutionized the community. So now it's just an amazing place because there's children running around. There's all kinds of activities. I think we're going to Stratford next week, and the Motor Museum that's near here. We do all kinds of things, trips.
But this is the thing, surely, because a place of worship is a community centre as well, and it shouldn't be seen as something that you only do.
Yes,
that you only do, when you're in trouble or you want the divine to get involved.
It's an Orthodox synagogue, so therefore we see all the different festivals through the year, and they use those festivals to arrange social events. So, in other words, we went to a meal the other day for Shavuos, which is the festival for fruit and things like that.
Yeah.
So They very cleverly, this new young rabbi and his American wife, they very cleverly use the festivals to bring more people in and to think of events that would bring them. And they do. People come every week. I go every week because I love it there.
And also English Heritage Most Improved Place of Worship Award, apparently. So there,
Is that what they said?
That's what they said. It's an English Heritage.
Well, I'd agree with that.
And it's known as it's almost like a cathedral. I mean, looking at it's almost got sort of the stained glass and it's very sort of bright Gothic. So not dark Gothic, but arches and it's really quite an imposing.
No, place. Inside they've painted. I mean, I wish I could show you, but they've painted the walls a sort of pale blue, and to sort of brighten it all up, because when I was a child, say it was this dark sort of place with all these stern-looking men in there, but now it's the colour of the walls has reflected the change in the atmosphere. So whereas before, 70 years ago, if you like, it was all stern and dark and sombre. Now you've got the wonderful walls, you've got the wonderful colourful windows, and the atmosphere everywhere has changed. It's light, it's relaxing, lovely.
And can you argue that this sort of acts as a springboard for the community then? Because if you think about, because you mentioned Birmingham to people now, they go, oh yeah, Peaky Blinders, etc. But there was Birmingham, there was Brum before that, Olga. BRMB radio, etc. But you see what I'm saying? There's so much more to the city than just that. And for the community here, it was a place that they could go, but also because, if you have faith, it connects you. It doesn't matter if you've come from if you're fleeing persecution in the East, you will still find a warm welcome and hopefully, people who understand you.
One of the, I've tried to put a lot of narrative in it because I tend to write, even though this is non-fiction, I've written it in a narrative style. And one of the stories is my own grandfather, who was fleeing the pogroms from Eastern Europe, and he came over without any English at all as a small boy, and he just got his name. Now, I don't know if you've got time to hear this, but my original name was Olswang, and so therefore I chose an anagram of that as my writer's name. So my writer's name is Olga Swan because it's an anagram, and it's my way of remembering my grandfather who came over and all the others who have, in the past. And that's what I like about history. To me, history has to be written down. It's no good staying in your head, because only then will it be available for the next generations to learn how we were, how we spoke, how we lived, really.
How much is your perception of Singers Hill Synagogue? How much has it changed since you wrote this book? Because, otherwise it's a place but when you dig down and you really get into the historical things and what it means, and perhaps things that you didn't realise, it changes the whole way that you look at this rather splendid building, but what it means, for communities.
Yes, It means a lot. And when I sort of looked at the research and and I sort of saw the people and kind of put it into my narrative, that's why it was important that I'm old, if you like, because there's a phrase called witting testimony. And what it means is that you're quoting what people said. So therefore, it's far more true than some historian who just writes facts from other books. In a lot of this book, I've written things that I remembered from when I was young, that these people who were not founders because it was built in 1856, but soon, in the early days, I was able, if I'd met them, I remembered what they said and the way they spoke. Because normally history books don't record this, how people spoke and the kind of things they said. They just record facts, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to bring a bit more witting testimony into it. So that's what I've tried to do in this book.
And the other thing is the fact, because I don't think we realise, how fortunate we are, because, an awful lot of these, and every city in Europe had a synagogue. I mean, and a major one, and they were destroyed by the events.
Well, a lot of them have been destroyed, of course.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And so, one of these beautiful original buildings that go so far back. And so to have something like that, it should be celebrated. And yet we have to have heavy security. Every time I go, there are police, and there are CST is a wonderful local, it's a group that's all over the country, but there are local groups that stand with the police, and every time we go, we have to see them. The Jewish school, you have to have. No other religion has to have this, and I just feel upset about it. But at a time of trouble, the fact that you can worship and you can go for somewhere that once you get inside. And that is, perhaps, I said before, I talk about spiritual and moral anchor, and that is what this represents. No matter what's being thrown or what preconceptions and misconceptions people have about the faith, you can still celebrate it, and that has to be celebrated.
Yes, I still want to go, and even though I know that I suppose it's a risk because you don't know what's going to happen, but I know that the security is there. But it's so upsetting because we're good people, I can honestly say all the Jewish people I've met over my long life, I have never ever met anyone who hated another group or hated other people. They don't. We don't hate anybody. It's just. We're nice people who've been, for some reason, taken in the wrong way.
Olga, I could spend another 2 hours talking about the whole misconception and also how it harks back to equerry, and there's so much there that goes on. But however, I think that people paint all sides with broad brushstrokes when we're all so much more nuanced. And if we could all just sit down at a table and break bread, it'd be an awful lot easier for everybody.
Well, let me just say that I hope that if any of your listeners want to read my book, I hope that they will learn something, really. I haven't brushed over, that there's no sort of whitewashing of people and what they did or how. I hope they will learn something about us and that we're just ordinary, normal people who just want to live our lives,
The book is called And the Walls Sang. It's by Olga Swan, who we're talking to today. Listeners, you can go online to our virtual bookstore, click on the front cover, and it will be delivered by a well-known South American river delivery company. Olga, do you have social media? Are you on the web? Is there social media? I think you've got some Facebook. Yes.
I'm not a dinosaur. Yes, my blog is olgaswan.blogspot.com. I think that's my blog. And yes, I'm on Facebook and all of them, really. It's a bit difficult these days, though, isn't it? Yes. I have to scroll down quite a few comments.
Well, listen, Olga, congratulations on the book. It's fascinating and it's fabulously written. It's called and also it celebrates Birmingham as well. So the book is called And the Walls Sang. It's by Olga Swan. Olga, thank you so much for your time today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.